Okay, so if we're talking about linear correlation, which we are, okay, talking about linear regressions and linear correlation, things like that, you have to figure out what kind of correlation this data has. Now, this is just a reminder from Algebra 1, because you already did this in Algebra 1. I'm just reminding you. That's kind of been how it's been so far this year, hasn't it? Almost everything we've done this so far has been a reminder of Algebra 1, and that's okay. All right? So if we look at this first set of data right here, you don't know what it is. There's no labels here. There's no labels here. There's no title of the graph. You can look at this, though, and tell what kind of correlation it has. Because it's asking, what kind of relationship does the data have? Do you remember doing this in Algebra 1? 3 of you? Okay, excellent. So, is there a line that goes through this data? No. But what if we pretended that there was? If we pretended there was a line that goes through this data, what kind of slope would this line have? Positive? Yes. So if the pretend line would have a positive slope, guess what kind of correlation this would have? Positive correlation. Well, what kind of correlation would this have? Also positive? If I drew a line right here, what kind of slope would it have? Okay, a positive correlation. But these are kind of different, aren't they? So they both have positive correlation, but one has a strong correlation and one has a weak correlation. And once I say those words, I think most of you can figure out which one is strong and which one is weak, right? What makes something a strong positive correlation? If the dots are closer together. So this one would be strong positive correlation, right? So then this one would be weak because they're further apart. Okay? Now, there's something called a correlation coefficient, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Okay? So what about this one? What kind of correlation does this graph have? No correlation? Why not? Where would the line go? Here, it's pretty obvious it would go right here, right? Even in this one, it's obvious it would go right here. But on this one, could it go, like, anywhere? Right? So this one would be no correlation. Okay? Do I need to show you an example of weak correlation? Excuse me, negative correlation? Okay, I feel like I need to because of what happened earlier. Is that negative correlation? Because if I drew a line, it would have a negative slope, right? So that would be negative correlation. Would that be strong or weak? Pretty strong, right? They're pretty close together. Okay? Alright, so that's how you do the first part of your homework, 19 through 24. I don't care what the words say. You guys are in Algebra 2, regular Algebra 2. Okay? So this is what you're doing. You're identifying if it's positive or weak or negative, strong or weak, or no correlation on 19 through 24. If you are in pre-AP, however, and happen to be watching this video to learn how to do this lesson, you do have to do what the directions in the book say. Okay? So let me show you what that is real fast. We did a little bit on Friday. Whoops. Hold on. I need to start a new document. No, I don't want to save the old one. Well, I guess I could have just used what was there, but oh well. Do you remember how we did this? We created an X and Y list. And we said 2, 5, 3, 4, 1. And we made that our Y column. And we said 3, 5, 4, 3, 2. You remember that? And you remember us doing this, control, add a page? What do we do next? Data and statistics, we added a new page, and then we said this is our x-axis. We said this is our y-axis. No. Y-axis. Oh, can I fix that real quick? Because it's going to be awful. Does anybody care about that? Okay, let me go back. I just want it to look a little bit nicer. Which one was that? This one? Control doc, data and statistics, X, Y. Is that better? Yeah, that's good. Okay. And then how do I put the regression line in there? Menu, analyze, regression, linear regression, right? So see how it only goes through that one dot? Is that okay? Yes, it is. Okay, that's okay. This is the equation you would have to write down. That's what we did on our homework on Friday, remember? Okay. So let me show you something actually that I learned new, and especially for my pre-AP students, it's going to be helpful. Okay, because it asks you to find the coefficient of regression. That's not right. Coefficient of correlation, excuse me. Okay. The coefficient of correlation talks about how close they are related to each other. Are they strong? Are they weak? Okay. So if I go here to a blank cell, I say menu, statistics, and stat statistics. And then look right here. Look at number 3. Linear regression. Where is my x's? In x. Where are my y's? In y. I wanted to send my equation to F1 in a graph. Okay? And then I just press down, arrow down, and press OK. It gives me a whole bunch of stuff over here. But look what it gives me right down here. It gives me M and B. Right here it tells me R. My R is my correlation coefficient. The closer this number is to 1, the closer the data is to a straight line. The further away the coefficient is from 1, the less it has a positive correlation, or the weaker the positive correlation. Does that make sense? So if this was like 0.5, that would be super, super weak, and it may even be almost no correlation to our naked eye. Does that make sense? Okay, so if you're pre-AP doing this assignment, you've got to be able to do this. You have to find this R, this correlation coefficient. Okay? If you're in a regular class, you don't have to do this. On the problems on your homework, the 19 through 24, you've just got to tell me what kind of correlation the problems have. Okay? Just as a reminder, some of you are doing a great job at it. Some of you are doing the opposite of that. You're supposed to write down the problem every time. And some of you are just writing down the answer. Okay? Starting tomorrow, if you don't write down the problem, you don't get credit for doing the work. Because that's something that I ask you to do. You remember at the beginning of the year you said, oh my gosh, you're so strict about some things that my other math teacher wasn't, and you're not very strict about other things that my math teacher was last year? Well, this is one thing that I'm strict about. You write down the problem or you don't get credit for doing it. You have to have the problem there to be able to refer back to when you get an answer. If you come and ask me for help and don't have the problem written down, I know this might come as a surprise to you, but I don't have this whole book memorized. I really don't. Okay? I can see the shock in your faces. Okay? I really don't have this book memorized. You need to have the problem written down so I can help. Does everybody understand that? I'm not trying to be mean about it. I'm not trying to be a bully about it, but I've asked for the last 3 weeks, and some of you are still not doing it. So I'm going to have to give you a consequence. Like if you were 5. Okay? Your consequence is you don't get credit for doing that problem. Okay? So what happens if the problem looks like this? Then draw this. Right? What happens if the problem looks like this? Then draw just a graph. Do I expect perfection from you? I can't even give you perfection. I'm a human. I do my best. I want you to give your best back to me, please. Fair enough? Okay, so write the problems. 19 through 24, regular Algebra 2 students, you are telling me what type of positive correlation. For AP Algebra 2 students, you are finding the equation and telling me R, the correlation coefficient. Okay? On number 25, this is what you have to do. You have to create, using real-world problems, create a graph that has positive correlation, negative correlation, and no correlation. 2 of each. 25 is very clear directions that I want everyone to follow. Okay? So I want to give you an example of one. Okay? What are some things that we can measure? Time. Distance, like feet. Yeah, yards even, like a length, a height. What else can we measure? Weight. Foot size. Temperature. The amount of Oreos I eat every day.
A roller.
Did you say a roller? Ruler.
Okay. Things that we can measure. That's what you have to use here. You have to use things you can measure. Okay? So if I put time here, and I want to specify it's days, right? Days. Are we going to be serious or silly?
Silly.
It's fine with me, but as long as most of your graphs are serious, I'll show you a silly one. Are you okay with that? Okay. So if time is here, we can put Oreos right there, right? As time passes, so like the first day I ate 1 Oreo, the second day I'd already eaten 1 Oreo, I had another Oreo, so now I have 2 Oreos. The next day I ate 2 Oreos, so now I'm up to 4. Right? The third day, or the fourth day, I only ate 1 more Oreo, so that's up to 5. Is that linear? No. But is it positive correlation? Yes. Does that make sense? Now I need a title on this graph to make it make sense. The number of, total number of Oreos Mrs. Kingston eats. Something like that. Okay? Do you understand what I want you to do on 25? 2 for each. 2 for positive, 2 for negative, 2 for no. Yes? Questions?